Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lowdown with Liz Glass. Thank you for joining us. Today, I have with me Rob Gross from Douglas Elliman in Manhattan. He's a big Manhattan agent who I admire, and I can't wait to hear what he's got to say today. Rob, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Gross. I'm a broker at Douglas Elliman in Manhattan at 111 Fifth Avenue, which is Fifth Avenue and 18th Street, which would be the Flatiron District. Before I start, I just want to throw some props to Liz. I met her virtually on Tom Ferry. And within the 2 years, which is during COVID, I saw this incredible transformation from a broker who left her former brokerage. And I don't know if you started on your own or not, but like, talk about working the program. Every day, all these wonderful positive posts on Instagram and Facebook, all these kind of questions, this or that, very personal, and I admire that because, a lot of brokers, we have the facts, we have the market reports, but what makes you different? And that's yourself. And, Liz is different than anybody, but more importantly, I've seen the difference. Like, I'm sure your GCI went up double, triple. So I have a lot of admiration because how long have you been in the business?
Just 5 years.
All right. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, people come to the country, it's like, and they start a grocery, and they work 24 hours a day. You've never seen a better system. That's because they're grateful for the system. And that's what I saw with you, Liz. And
Thank you, Rob.
impressed and honored to call you my friend because it really is powerful. Out of all the people in our group, well, everybody works it differently. I could have worked it a lot better, but there's the story. All right, so my CV, this is always the painful, congratulatory part about yourself, but I guess it's relevant since I am a broker. So I'll tell you how I became a broker. That's a story. So I met my now wife, and we fell in love quickly, and we moved from the East Village, Lower East Side, which in the 80s was not, the fun Lower East Side or trendy East Village. It was picking up bodies. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of smack. There were, it was even before, well, there was AIDS. The city was really in a sad shape, and we got tired of the cat piss and hookers turning tricks in our lobby. And like, what could we move to that's so different? And so we moved to the West Village in Manhattan. So if you've seen Sex and the City, that's on Charles Street. We moved on Perry Street. There are, little brownstones and tenement buildings. And so we bought, I think it was 1985, we bought a fifth floor walk up at 45 Perry. And my wife's cousin, Bob Eichner, was a realtor with his own company. And back then, this was before Elliman was downtown, Corcoran was just beginning. It was a lot of little firms. And so Bob was our broker. And we had so much fun going around. And we bought this place for $82,000, right? And it was like a railroad flat. So anyway, I was working as a copywriter in advertising. I didn't like it. It was like the worst job. It wasn't fun or sexy. I was working for a recruitment firm. It was like industrials. I hated my job. And I've been working since I was 7. My parents had a store. So I'm no stranger to work, but I just hated that job. And Bob, after he bought the place, it's like, you'd be a great broker. You love to talk. You love property, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, Bob, commission only. What am I going to do? And so that job that I hated in advertising, I got fired from. And so I went to Bob.
Thank you. Thank you for sending me on.
Yeah. And I went to Bob. I'm going to take you up on that, but I have no money. So he lent me $2,000 with interest because that's Bob and he's a businessman. And I got my license like 3 weeks after Black Monday in 87.
Oh boy.
And a lot of you might not have even been born then, but like, if you think the market is kind of hinky now, back then, double-digit interest rates, the city was going to pot, crack epidemic, all this crap happening. The city was not the magnet it is today. Anyway, people are like, you're crazy going into real estate. And it's like, I don't think so. And I did what Liz is doing. I outworked everybody. I would go up and down Fifth Avenue with baskets of sandwiches and chicken and, sometimes money. and get to know the doormen and get to know the building managers. And I started getting listings. And Bob, who is probably the brightest mind I've ever met in real estate, took me on as a mentor. And he really taught me the business. And he taught me some things that I needed to forget. Um, but I started doing a lot of development and I started kind of getting a bit of a name with all humility. And that was it. Here's the other story. So I got my license in November and I got a customer, this woman named Faith Gear, who was a character actor in film and on Broadway. And at the time she was playing with Jessica Lange, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And she was this older lady. Looking back, she's probably not a lot older than I am now, but she wanted, it could be in the Village or Gramercy, but it had to have a fireplace. And so I found her something on what's known as Block Beautiful, which is East 19th between Irving and 3rd Avenue. And it's just one block that's little buildings and elegant brownstones and apartments. And this was one of the first co-ops in Manhattan. But while we were looking, she would take me to the Arts Club in Gramercy, and she'd have her 2 or 3 martinis. And we talk, and she started taking me to her theater parties with my wife. And I had her parties of my friends, and like, here she is twice my age and we're friends and I'm making some money.
Yeah, that's
And I was like, I'm
that's-
getting paid for this, right? So, a lot of brokers complain and, there are reasons to complain. You work hard. It's not a steady income. If you want to be, you're around 24/7, but you have the flexibility to create, your career. We're like a bunch of cowboys with Prada driving moccasins, like we're out there
you
and
know,
we eat what we kill and we kill what we eat. And I couldn't imagine a better job. And when I say kill and all that, like one thing I had to unlearn from Bob is that he was really confrontational. And, back then, I'm very different. I was very different, Liz. I was a fighter. I was take no prisoners. It was about the deal. Um, and I still had a lot of friends, but I was tough, you know, like my manager, Chris Peters, who worked at Corker at the time. It's like, Rob, I really liked you, but I always thought you were going to punch me in the nose. So I'm not like a big guy. I'm just like, "Rah." Anyway, I had a lot of fun. I met so many people. And, but I left Bob because of that reason specifically. It was too much anger. And plus, I started getting a lot of developers calling me. And I felt that I needed to go to a bigger house where I could be serviced better. And so I did. And I took my clients with me. And from that time, my first project was 55 White Street in Tribeca in the textile district. And here's the crazy thing. My mom was a textile designer. She got a scholarship to the New York Art Institute, and she worked for a textile design company on White Street. And I lived on Franklin and Church, literally half a block away. And my mom designed camouflage for the Army.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sure she was one of many, but just talk about a small world. So anyway, I got into real estate. I never really had a plan for myself. I thought I'd be like a writer for television or ads or something more like that. But being a broker checked all the boxes because I have a lot of energy. So I get to walk around. I really like people, despite me being a bit of a miscreant back then. But I like people and I like brokers.
Yeah.
I really like brokers because we're kind of cut from the same mold. And what job can you not graduate college or maybe even high school and become someone really important in the industry or someone really successful or someone really kind and good? Liz?
It's so funny they say that. Everything you're saying, like I'm loving the energy, and I wish I got to watch you do, from beginning to end, because you either have an incredible passion for it, and that I wouldn't tell people this, but I would pay people to let me do this. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love my
Yeah.
clients. At the end of a transaction, I end up being good friends with my clients. I keep in touch with them. And like you, I love people. I do. Everybody's interesting. Everybody's got a story. Most people are really amazing. Every now and then you get somebody that's just,
Yeah. I
way
mean,
too.
brokers have a bad reputation. And the reason that brokerage is so interesting, it's like you have a lot of people, you have the 1% of the 1% or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's their money. But, it's not like investing in equities. This is a three-dimensional investment that you are planning the next year or 2 years, all your life on living in and hope that it accrues in value.
Right.
So you could be completely straight edge and, work at Goldman Sachs and you fall apart when you're buying real estate. So,
That's
what
it.
service do we provide?
Yeah, I think that's my biggest strength is I am very in tuned emotionally and I'm very good at calming people's fears when
Mm-hmm.
they're freaking out, you know, talking them off the fence. We're gonna get through it. Just take a deep breath, take a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's so emotional. It's emotional, it's mental, it's financial, it's physical, it's my operations manager just walked out, but she was making fun of me one day and she made a post and it said, I will walk your dog, I'll take your grandmother to the doctor, I'll clean out your car because sometimes I get a little too involved in helping people that, sometimes somebody has to sell a house, maybe not for a great reason, and they're stressed about
Yeah.
it and they don't
I
really want to sell their house and they're
I
getting,
part ways with that.
yeah,
I have cleaned the kitty litter thing because it was a tough situation. But as much it's important, and I'm an emotional person, and I've made really good friends with some people, and then like I felt I was so left in the lurch, and I was so hurt, and so I'm aware of that. I want people to like me, but I also have to realize what people think or say about me is none of my business. In other words, I can't tell you what to think. I can't tell you what to do. We're advisors. I remember taking a class at Elliman who changed the term from broker to consultant. And the difference is the consultant knows what the true motivation is. You know, um, you want to move out of Queens. Well, I don't know. We just didn't like it anymore. Blah, blah, blah. And what happened is his neighbor got mugged and broken into, and he didn't want to live in that neighborhood anymore. And he wanted a safe and secure environment. But that took hours of prodding before getting the right information. And then you become a consultant. And like you're a natural consultant because people trust you because they can. And not everyone's going to trust me, but they can. And other brokers can. And I'm really happy to say I have no enemies in the business. And while I don't have a problem taking the gloves off, it's a last resort. But the thing I take really seriously above everything else, and if you're listening out there, this is maybe my one point. We have a fiduciary responsibility, first and foremost. It's not about philosophy, morals. One broker could do one thing one day and the next day, you can't do that. It gets really shaky sometimes. And,
right.
there are things that are typical practice or not, but the law is the law. And I've done 22 development projects.
Wow.
Things get really hot and hairy.
Sure.
You're selling 50 units and you have the pressure from the developer. But, one also has their own life. And I get up every morning naturally at like 5:20. I have stuff I need to do in the morning and I try to do it every day and it keeps me sane. So guess what happens? 8 o'clock, I start like, my brain is dead. I'm getting like calls from this developer. It's Rob, we need to talk about the schedule A and how we're going to mix it up. And should we do 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? I'm going to call you at 9 o'clock because I'm busy all day. It's like, Lenny, you can't.
Wow.
8 o'clock is my time. What do you mean? I got a lot of stuff to talk to you about. It's like, Lenny, I'm no good after 8 o'clock. You can call me 5:30 in the morning, but I know it can wait. So can we just do it tomorrow? So in other words, if you start walking the dog and painting the house and all of that, I think it takes away from your sense of duty to yourself.
You definitely
You
have to
do it.
you definitely have to set boundaries in this business because you'll get texts at 5 o'clock in the morning and text at 11 o'clock at night. And, in the beginning, I guess when you're first starting, you just want to take every call. You don't want to miss any possible deals. And my kids got to the point where they're like, put your phone down. So but I'm
Yeah.
getting better at it, you know.
My wife said on your tombstone, it's going to read, just one more call. You know, morbid, but could be true. But yeah, boundaries are important. And, also, yeah, I have a lot of interests, and most of them are outdoors. I love to snowboard and kayak and fish and hike and all that stuff. And I love the city, but I love getting out of the city. And so if you can, give yourself some time, you know, to yourself. If you have a partner, to your partner. If you have a family, to your family. If you have an interest, to your passion. It will, in the long run, it will make you a better broker and a more fulfilled person, I think.
I definitely, I'm very good. Marie Gomer will tell you, she laughs at me because it is super important to have work-life balance. So yellow is fun on my calendar. So I have different things color coordinated. I make sure there's quite a bit of yellow every week.
Yeah.
And because all work and no play is just not good. And all play and no work is not good. So
Yeah. Well, all play is not your problem, obviously. So let's take a minute and talk about social media and marketing.
okay.
Can you guys see me? I'm like the worst marketer. I'm like, I joined Tom Ferry 2 years ago and doing marketing my own way, which is just, if I had kept in touch with the hundreds of people in all these developments that I did, I'd be 4 times as wealthy. And I just have a crappy system. So brokers, look at this face. Get your system down. Do like Liz, who's got a great calendar. And I'm sure, you have things in your book. I do call people. I do have parties and events, but that's the side of my career early on. I just should have hired somebody. And, about 2 years ago, I hired an admin. And I used to have brokers work on my team, right? And you're going to handle that bill. You're going to do this. I'm going to do that thing. But they're independent contractors and they're not your employee.
Right.
So you can't really, you can, but it's really not, you don't have that much juice except to fire them. So I hired an admin that I found on Wise Hire who was amazing and opposite of me, task oriented, focused, quiet, um, finishes what she started, which I guess is task oriented, kind of an introvert. I don't want to hire myself. I drive myself crazy as is. I do not have the skill set. So Wise Hire, it's not a paid plug, but was really good to me. And this woman was fantastic, and she was active in college with minority groups. And um, one day she called me up, and she was just wonderful. It was like, Rob, I have good news and bad news. I go, okay, what's the good news? I found the job of my dreams. So her aunt sent her resume to a activist group, or a community group rather, and they hired her. And I said, you know what? I'm happy for you. The
Right.
bad news is good news. You're going to leave. Just help me. Will you help me bring in the next person? So she did. And then the next person was amazing. And normally I don't want assistants to get their broker's license, because then they want to be a broker, and then they want to be like you, and then they get disinterested in being an admin. And you really need an admin.
Right. Right.
Look at me. You need an admin.
Listen to Rob.
Yeah, well, it took Rob 35 years, so I procrastinate, another character defect. But it changed my life completely. I don't want to do all the stupid stuff. I want somebody who can look at a board package and get it done. Now, I will say one thing. I don't brag about too many things, but in my career as a New York broker, where we have co-ops, which are the most crazy system, someone can say no to you for absolutely no reason. They can say no to you because the apartment's too cheap and they're afraid it's going to lower the value. They can say no because the board president used to play football and got beat up all the time and teased. And so, no, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing that they can still do that.
Now, in New York, and I don't know who this is going to, but we also have condos, which are real property as opposed to getting stock in a corporation. So don't think that condos don't have bylaws. They do. But the one thing that's different is that there's right of first refusal. So unless the condo buys it, you're passed and you can sublease it. Now, it doesn't mean you can do, Airbnb. In my condo, former condo, You couldn't sublease for less than a year. We're
Okay.
not a hotel. But anyway, diverse. So I only had one board turned down in my entire career.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And that's because that other side of me, you know, I I have a fiduciary, and that's to make sure the people or person we're picking is going to pass the crazy board. And it's not just money, it's just how letters are written, how one projects themselves in an interview and prior to that. But you know what? It has a lot to do with the other broker. And I get deals done because I never say no if a broker needs help.
And that,
If they need financials, I don't see brokers as competitors. I mean, yeah, we compete, but I don't look at it that way. We're all stuck in this fishbowl and we're all fighting for the scrap. But if we want to live, we got to like share every now and then. I'm not going to give up business, but it's a smart thing to do business wise. And for me, it's a smart thing to do just with my general well-being. Because why the hell wouldn't I? Right? There's no reason. I don't want to carry that with me. Um, so that New York is a great place to do business. With all respect to everybody everywhere, it's just you can cover, in the span of 3 hours, you can show $70 million worth of property if you're in that price point,
right.
which I typically am not, unless I showed like, I don't know, 35 apartments. My sweet spot, by the way, in Manhattan is like between 2 and 6 million. That's what I usually transact. And that is not the high end of the market. You would say mid luxury would be like 5 to 10, and super luxury would be above that. And a colleague of mine just sold a $74 million property. And this colleague was a woman who represented a property that I was in a bidding war with. And because I know her and bumped into her, it was neck and neck. In fact, the other deal was all cash, and they took our deal. And why? Because I'm not about the drama, you know? No.
You're there trying to get your client's offer accepted. That's wonderful. You know,
Yeah. So, social media, going back to that, you know, here's how I handled it. I have a family. My wife's not interested in being on social media with me, but I have a daughter who I really adore, who's kind of cute. And it's like, yeah, I'm a girl dad, and it's kind of obnoxious, but I try to make it interesting. So my kid, whatever, I can't help myself.
I have to interrupt you. You are not giving yourself enough credit. I love your social media. Your daughter is adorable. How old is she?
She
24,
just turned 21.
21.
Gasp.
Okay. I have a 25-year-old daughter. I put my kids, well, I
Yeah,
have 3 kids.
I've seen your kids.
Most people are going to think I really have one. My daughter, I'm allowed to put on, but my boys, they run from me. But you don't give yourself nearly enough credit as far as your social media. Your social media is great. And I was hoping you would do a flip chart for us today.
I thought about it.
Flip chart.
I'll do flips for you, Liz. I'll do anything you want me to. I'll take my jacket off.
We're actually
Um,
run out of time. This thing is, I'm not sure how to extend it.
we have 9 minutes left, it says, or is it not? Yeah,
Oh, okay.
9 minutes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I just got some weird message. Now I see what you're saying. We got time. But
Anyway, social media. So my
I
thing with
love
social
your social media. Just keep doing what you're doing because you know what? It's just being you. And like I try to throw in the quotes and all the other posts, and I'm trying to get more deliberate with the social media. But you can't drive yourself nuts about it and worry about
Yeah, I don't. But I used to do these flip charts. It was flip chart
I love
Wednesdays,
the
and I'd be marketing these expensive properties and doing flip charts like you did when you were in second grade, and hand drawing things and jumping on
and
tables.
doing it from the top of a roof of a building.
Yeah. So it was fun. Look, I do enjoy having a good time, and my, I guess, motives for social media is I want people to know who I am. You know, I love to cook. I love to snowboard. I love to fish. I love to kayak. I have a fishing kayak, so I get 2 for 1. I love my family. I love New York. I love restaurants and food. I love the high. I love the low. I like the guy in the coffee cart who came from Afghanistan 29 years ago as 4 kids all going to college from a shithole country, I think. Not to get politic, but
No, but
yeah.
that's
And to me, that's what New York is really about. New York is this country within a state within the world that brings together so many different ideas. And, I will share this though. So I am not on the Zoom from New York. Um, our neighbors came at us with a number to buy. It was the right time. It was the right number. We weren't looking to sell, and we sold our place. So where am I?
beautiful.
Whoops, what just happened? Oh,
You're good. I see it.
okay. I'm 50 miles from the city. I
And
can be in the city an hour and a half.
that's
I've always had relationships with brokers, but there's somebody who used to be on my team who she came when she was 23. I think she's 32 now. I trained her. She said I mentored her. I have certain ways of doing things. And for someone who says he's not organized, I'm really organized when it comes to the important stuff. Right. And so I asked if she would help me because I just want to make sure my clients are handled. And I'm not hiding that I've moved. I'm not retiring, but I am recalibrating. I think it's a really good thing. And I'm telling my clients if they're not cool with it, they're not cool with it. But I will make sure everything is handled. And if you look at what's going on in New York and the rest of the country, there are super teams where the names on the teams might see you when they're pitching it. They're never going to be showing the apartment. And I will, I'll come down to show. It's great to go in the city. I get to meet with my clients and have lunch with colleagues and talk to my manager. It is not a waste of time and it's really fun. I love the city. That's why we're not that far away.
it's
So
not fair at all. And like you said, it's so interesting now because so much other than showing the properties, you can do everything from where you are. I'm going to Florida tomorrow until Monday, and I'll be working most of the time while I'm there, but doing all of the administrative stuff and the follow-up and calls and reaching out to people. The only thing I can't do is show, and my broker is awesome. He covers for me when I'm gone, so we're in a new world. Work,
yeah, and
years ago,
COVID, of
you
course.
weren't working unless you were at your place of work from 9 to 5. People just
Yeah.
never rep. Now it's completely different. And as long as you ultimately achieve the goal, you're working and you're working hard.
Yeah, and what COVID did on the positive side, it accelerated how people do business maybe 5 years ahead.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting in New York, everyone fled. We didn't flee. But people moved out of the city and New York was like the center of, the disease. People are coming in. And then New York being New York, we got completely atomic about getting vaccinated and everyone got shot. So we became the center of smart COVID prevention. And so people started coming back and then property was really at a low and interest rates were crazy low. I mean, the Fed, they were in 2018, there's beginning of a trade war with China. They wanted to keep interest rates low and put some juice in the economy. And now we're seeing interest rates from 5.5 to 8, 5.5 to 6, 7 maybe. The 40-year average is 8%. And of course, we have short memories and that's good. But, the interest rates that we had in the last 5 years were somewhat of an anomaly. Maybe, but they were what they were.
Right. Right. And the 2 and 3% will probably be a long time before we ever see that again.
Yeah,
But like you said, 40-year average is 8%. Buy a home when you can afford it and when you fall in love with it. That's
yeah,
nation to my buyers.
and people who are looking for the bottom have already missed it.
Right. Right.
It doesn't work that way. And yeah, I mean, I just sold a really expensive apartment in Soho, and it was a dad buying it with his son, and the dad, they lived in New Jersey. It's like, Rob, this is so expensive. Like, is it overpriced? It was a 2,300 square foot, 3 bedroom, 3 bath loft in prime Soho for 5.5 million. That wasn't on the market that I heard about because
Of your
Brokers are my friends.
friends, yeah, yeah.
And
But you
so
gotta
they
nurture
wanted it.
these relationships.
Yeah, they wanted it. And like, are we overpaying? And I said, no, this is expensive. But whether it's in, you're in Babylon, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, whether it's in Babylon or, Borough Park or whatever. Um, if something's expensive, and I didn't think it was overpriced because we saw 30 different lofts in all parts of town. Um, and it's just like you are buying a luxury item. And owning property, whether it's 150,000 or 15 million, it's a luxury event. It's something to be proud of. It's something to celebrate. And yes, it's really scary, but most people, you know, you feel good about it. And, being a broker, part of it is saying, all right, I'm going to sell you this property, but telling people it's okay for you to buy it, because
right,
it is.
right. And you know what? When you're buying luxury, you pay a premium, but not everything is an investment. Some things are just quality of life. And if you can
Exactly.
afford it and you want it and it's going to improve your life and make your life better, by all means, you should buy it.
I'll end with one funny real estate story.
Okay.
All right. So I had an exclusive in Tribeca on Franklin Street, and it was a fourth floor loft with a semi-automatic elevator. You had to operate it yourself, and it was really old school. And the people who owned it, it was Giselle and Fabio, and they had a son. Giselle was not the Giselle, but a 6 foot tall Brazilian model, and her husband Fabio was a martial arts instructor and fashion photographer. And they were fabulous. And they had a son, I forget his name. And they also had Paco, a 14-year-old teacup Yorkie, right? So they kind of, they were nice, but they lived like children. The place was messy. They didn't have under the sink like a vanity or anything, like in the kitchen closets. They just had a drape. So they had a rodent problem.
Oh,
So I
goodness.
was showing it. It was with a broker from Halstead. And, I kind of dressed for work. I was wearing a pinstripe suit and, blah, blah, blah. And they were out. I'm showing the apartment. And underneath, I hear this noise. I'm like, what's that? And I go closer to it. And I take the bonnet below the kitchen sink off. And it's Paco is stuck in a glue trap.
Oh, God.
And he's like, what? And I go, what's going on? And the people like, what's wrong, Rob? What's wrong? I said, Paco's in trouble. And I don't know why I did this because it's messed up. But I took my jacket off, I unbuttoned my shirt, and I swaddled Paco, who I thought was going to have a heart attack, in his little glue trap. And I go to the broker in the buy. Are you going to buy it? Are you going to buy it? It doesn't even matter. We got to go. Paco's in trouble. So we go down the elevator, and I run to the vet, which wasn't that far away. And I go in, it's like, what's going on? It's like, this teacup Yorkie, Paco, he's in trouble. He got caught.
Well, everybody, that was Rob Gross from Douglas Elliman in Manhattan. Rob, it was such a pleasure having you with me today. I am so sorry that we ran out of time. Obviously, we were having a great time and a great discussion. I just want to let everybody know Paco was okay. Rob saved Paco and all was good. If you want to learn more about Rob, reach out. His information will be below. Thank you so much for joining us, Rob. Love you. Have a great day.